Hello and welcome to Amy obsessively tracking her life in every possible way, again, for, I don't know, me, maybe you, I don't know if anybody cares. I care, I think it's interesting. Okay, so, last year I set myself the New Year's resolution to end the year with less stuff than I started. But I don't like vague goals like that, so I set myself a very specific goal, less stuff than I started with. And I wasn't going to take this as like a general concept. No, I tracked this. Every single item that I gained or lost last year went into this massive long notes document on my phone. It's incredibly long. When I show you, I'm going to show you these totals. We're going to put them up on here now. So this graph here tells you, this graph? Chart? Table. This table here shows you everything that I gained and lost in the last year. This looks like a lot, and that is because it is. So I gained 405 items, got rid of 671, which comes to a total of minus 266 items. So I did succeed quite significantly, ended the year with 266 less things. I'm going to go into a little bit about what I learned from this challenge, but I wanted to give you guys some parameters as to what the rules were for this. Anything I gained included literally anything. If I got a pack of 10 pens, 10 pens were counted. If I got a new scrunchie was counted. If I got skeins of yarn, they were counted. Like if I got a new set of, say if I got a set of Christmas cards and there was 10 cards and it counted all 10 of those cards, I counted everything in this. I was a lot more stringent about what I counted in versus what I counted out, mostly because I would just like have a big bag of stuff that would go to a charity shop, and like I'm not going to double check every single thing in there. I tried, but I can't guarantee that it's correct. And also there was a massive pile of stuff that I had left over from the end of the year last year from doing my like organisational stuff, which you've probably seen. It's on my channel, it's also on my Instagram, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It was good fun. And a lot of that I hadn't donated by the time the end of the year came, so there was actually a lot more on this list that just had not been donated by December 31st, and like I'm sticking to my rules here, so if it was donated on like January 5th, it doesn't count because it was still in my house on December 31st. So I do think that these numbers are probably not very accurate, but the main thing to take away is that I ended up with a lot less than I started the year with. So yeah, 405 sounds like a lot of things to gain, but actually I don't think it is if you take into account every single thing that happened. It's not as if I got like 405 new items of clothing or new books. Like we're going really like really detailed with this, but if you do want to know about the clothes that I bought last year, there was also a video on that. This took by far the most effort of any of the like recording tracking things that I've done so far, so I will not be doing it again. That's the basic premise. The basic premise was that I tracked everything, but I'm gonna go through 5 things that I learned in my handy dandy ghost notebook. So the first one I think is pretty obvious based on the graph, and that is you gain more stuff than you think you do. If you asked me, I'd have said that I don't buy many things. I got these new glasses, these are new. I made this cardigan. I buy myself a book occasionally. I get clothes occasionally. Again, you can see the video on that. Apart from that, I don't feel like I buy many things. I buy things to replace them. Like I write a lot of letters, so if I finish a notebook, I'll buy a new one. But apparently I gain a lot more stuff than I do, and it wasn't until I started tracking it that I really think about it. Like I overthink a lot of my purchases, so I think that my level of consumption is very low compared to a lot of people. Again, you can see examples of this in my clothes buying one, but also in things like my makeup empties series, which I do every year. So 405 sounds like a lot, but actually I think this is very low compared to a lot of people. Now I would ask if you guys could track it and tell me, but this took an absolutely insane amount of work, and I don't think I want to ask any of you guys to do that. But the main point of this is that if you're really wondering where all your stuff comes from, maybe actually sit down and think about it for a second, because I think you're probably acquiring a lot more things than you actually think you are. Maybe it's just me, but this is a similar thing to what I learned in doing like the Makeup Empty series, which I'm doing, where I track the amount of makeup that I use every single year and compare that to the amount of makeup that I have, things like that. Again, all videos on my channel, where you realise that you own way more than you will ever need. And that sounds like such an obvious thing to say in like the post-capitalist hellscape that we live in, where objects are worth more than literal human lives, but even someone like me, who I'd consider myself like I don't want to say above that, but I think about it enough that I think I should be better than it. But this is a constant reminder, you are not immune to propaganda. I am not immune to propaganda. Why did this suddenly get very left? I don't know where this came from, but the conclusion to this is you have more stuff than you think you do. Point 2, sometimes you have to get more stuff to get rid of stuff. And that sounds like a really stupid thing to say, but let me explain. So there was quite a few things that I had that were older, that I bought that were really cheap, that took up a lot of room and needed like several items to fit the job of one thing. So I would get rid of like 5 things because I had something that had one thing for all 5. Does that make any sense? Okay, I'll give you an example. So last year I was getting rid of a bunch of my clothes and I sold a like a skirt and a few tops and used that money to buy a jumpsuit. Now that jumpsuit is quite a versatile outfit. I can wear it as a top and a bottom because it's a jumpsuit, and I got rid of like 5 things and replaced them all with one thing. So in order to get rid of those 5 things and still feel like I was filling that gap in my wardrobe, I bought one thing, which means that I have less things but I still have all the functionality of the things that I've gotten rid of. Does that make sense? Sometimes you have to gain things to get rid of things. Now obviously the other sort of undertone to this is the money side of things. So I'm not going to bother talking about the money of being able to like buy stuff other than, you know, the whole like capitalist agenda stuff, but that doesn't matter. The fact that previously I'd bought things because they were cheaper and they were worse, and now that I have a little bit more money to replace those things, I could get rid of those cheaper things and replace them with better things that are going to last longer and that have more purpose. So for example, I used to hand drill all of my resin pieces because the drill that I use now was a lot more expensive than the hand drill that I used to have. This hand drill took forever and I had to have like different ones for different things because it wasn't interchangeable. But I have now replaced those like several hand drills that I had with one electric one, which is much quicker, takes up a lot less space, and also meant that I could throw out all of, actually donate in this case, all of the other things. You following? I think you're following, right? The third thing that I learned is that I am never going to be a minimalist, and that is okay. Now I hesitate to call my style like maximalist because I think that suggests a level of curation that I don't think I have. I also have far too much of an attachment to the things that I own, for no apparent reason, and I recognise that that probably is a flaw, that I don't need to care about stuff as much as I do, but like I'm sitting here next to my ghost shelves, absolutely love them. Does it serve any purpose other than bringing me joy? No. And I think that's okay. You know, I think you can address your issues with like over-consumerism without having to completely get rid of everything you own and never buy anything ever again. And I also don't think I would enjoy it. Yes, hypothetically, I could get rid of 90% of the stuff in my flat that doesn't serve a purpose. And yet, I don't want to. Like, it's okay to own things that you like, as long as you're not spending so much money on something that you can't afford to, like, pay rent and eat food. And as long as you're not, like, an actual hoarder, or you don't have, like, far too much stuff for the space that you have, it's okay to have things just because you want things. Number 4, nobody hates you for getting rid of that thing. You can do it. It's okay. I think if you know what I'm talking about, this doesn't need any further explanation. I think there's a lot of people who watch this who just knew exactly what I meant. But if somebody buys me something, I can never get rid of it. I just can't, because to me it feels like I'm like giving away a part of this person's friendship, which is ridiculous. This is my giving you permission. If I've ever bought you anything ever and it doesn't serve a purpose in your life, you can get rid of it. It doesn't matter if I bought it you a week ago or 5 years ago, it's fine. I'm buying you something because I want it to be a nice thing, and if its presence in your home is not a nice thing, for whatever reason, you can get rid of it. Or if maybe it served its purpose, maybe it was something that you were into years ago and now you're not, it's fine. You can get rid of it. And I'm saying this to myself as well because I feel like so much guilt about getting rid of something that somebody bought me for no reason. Like, I know that that person gave me it with good intentions, but the whole point of gift giving is the thought behind it, right? Rather than the actual thing. Like, the actual thing is great, but when I buy something for someone, what I'm trying to demonstrate is that I've thought about them and how well I know them, and if I got that wrong, that's not on them to keep that item forever. Like, if I bought you something because I thought you would really like it and you don't, that's on me, that's not on you. You don't have to fake it, you don't have to pretend to keep something forever because you think that you need to show me that I like it. It's very nice for you to do that, but you don't need to, and that is a lesson that I'm trying to teach myself as well. Number 5, and I think this is the biggest thing, I can't name to you most of the stuff that I got rid of or gained this year. Yes, I have a list of it, yes I could check, but I can name to you a few things. I can name to you specific items of clothing that I sold and things like that. The vast majority of the stuff that I got, I can't tell you what it was. Like, I'm sure if I'm looking around my house, I got, there's some books in front of me which I can see, there's like a tin there that I got the other day, but if you actually ask me, close your eyes, think about it, how many things could you name? I can name maybe 10 things off the top of my head, which is ridiculous, and it makes it sound like I'm being like really ungrateful for the things that I got and things like that, but what I'm trying to tell you is that things that in that moment seem incredibly important in 6 months' time might not be. Like the stuff that I got rid of served its purpose in my life, or never had a purpose to begin with, and then I got rid of it and gave it to somebody else, so it has a purpose in somebody else's life. And I don't regret that for any of the things that I got rid of. And do you know what the best thing is? That for 99% of the stuff that you get rid of, you can just buy a new one. Like, again, this is coming from a place of like privilege, where obviously I can say I can afford it, but I think I read somewhere about like the £15 rule when it comes to organising. Like, if something is easy to replace and will cost less than £15 to replace and you're not sure if you want it, get rid of it, because if in, 6 months' time you decide that you want it, you can always buy a new one. And so many of the things that I got rid of, if I regret it, I can just buy a new one. And I don't. There is nothing that I got rid of in the last year that I regret getting rid of. And if in 6 months' time I'm looking for a t-shirt and I'm sad because I realised I've sold it, I can just buy a new one. Okay, this was a really long rambly video. I tried to have some like written down points and thoughts, but I think I went off on most of them. But I think it pretty much sums up all of my thoughts on this. Do you think I'm being absolutely ridiculous in tracking these things? Any thoughts on the late stage capitalist hellscape that we live in and the rampant over-consumerist life society that we have to exist in, that even though I'm fully aware that I'm falling for the propaganda every single day, and yet I still do it? Any thoughts on that? Because I've got a lot of thoughts on that. New video is supposed to be on the 1st and the 15th, but whenever. I'm currently applying for jobs. That's a whole other conversation. So like 90% of my life is applying for jobs, so videos aren't as important right now. Sorry gang. Yeah, any requests or questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll see you next time. Bye.